And apparently I'm on air. Hello, people who have been waiting. Waiting time is over. There was a person.
I'm on air.
Oh,
Hello.
okay. I can hear
People who
myself.
have been
This is
waiting.
not good.
Waiting time is over.
Okay, better. So now I cannot hear myself. So Guram, who was here on the last one, he suggested that I added the questions to a spreadsheet, and people can ask in any of the 3 languages I speak. And my husband is listening to me on the other side, so I'm listening to myself again. Anyway, I shared the document here with you. So if you have any more questions as we're talking, feel free to add them there. Because I noticed it's a bit hard to follow on the chat here. So I might or I might not read your question, but if you add it to the document, it's more likely I'm going to reply to you. Okay, so let me see if anyone is already here, because now I cannot see the chat at all. Okay, I'm guessing the chat now. Hello world. Okay, cool. Right, so going to the document now. Tell me about the Google Developers Expert Program. So recently they launched a video and many people reached out to me because I was one of the people who was sharing the story there. So the Google Developers Expert Program allows people who are passionate about community and one specific piece of technology. There are many of them, for instance, web technologies, Android, Actions on Google, and many others. So if you love the type of content and you have a passion for community and you want to share it with them, there is a high chance that you might already be an expert. So what happens is you have to reach out to a Googler or to a Google developers expert and tell them that you're interested in becoming an expert. And also, if you'd like to hear a bit more about the program, what are the possible benefits and how you can reach more people with your content and things like that. If you simply go on Google and research for Google Developers Experts, let me see if it's the first. Yeah, it's the first website that you see, developers.google.com/communities/experts. Someone asked anything. Yeah, you can ask me anything, let's say professional. Right, so as I was saying, you just go to this website, you can see a lot of the things which are available for you, and then you can look for experts near you to ask all the questions that you have. I can tell a lot about the Actions on Google one because it's the one that I'm recognized as an expert. But if you have any other technology that you're more interested in, for instance, cloud or Android, reach out to a person who is in that technology because it can be slightly different, even if overall it's similar. Basically, the way that it worked for me, it was that I had already created a lot of content. I had created posts on Medium. I have been giving talks for 3 years, and I had a passion for Actions on Google. So I reached out to a person on Google because I used to see many of his videos. And I reached out to him and I shared everything I had done with him. And I said, hey, do you think that it's possible that maybe I could potentially, in many years, become an expert? And then he actually recommended me. According to him, he thought I was ready. And then I had, let's say, 3 parts to the interview. The first one was filling in the website, like forms on a website about why I wanted to become a Google Developers Expert, what I'd like to change in the program, how I could help, and many other questions, all my social media and things like that. and then I had 2 interviews, and then I passed them and I became a Google Developers Expert, and it has really helped me, giving me visibility and credibility. Sometimes people reach out to me, oh, I didn't know that you were an expert. I just saw your profile. And then I feel that people take more into consideration the things I say, because I don't have a lot of confidence, and that has really helped me be more confident. Okay. Someone in the chat is asking me some personal things. This is not about me, Amanda. This is about me, a person who lives in a different country, who works with tech, who can help you with your code, with questions, technical questions you have, or things living abroad. I'm not going to say who my crush is. And please, I don't want to ban anyone. I want this to go as smooth as possible. So any professional questions, I'm here to take them. Second question. What's the easiest way to build my first action for Google Assistant? So if you don't even know how to code, or if you'd just like to get started the easiest way possible, you can build your first action using Google Spreadsheets. Basically, it's called templates. So if you search for actions on Google templates, it's very easy. You can follow the steps. Mainly what you have to do is you're going to be given a template on the Google Spreadsheets, where you're going to add, for instance, I built a game. And then what you're going to do is add the questions, add the responses, and then depending on the type of the game, there can be more columns to that, like a follow-up question, a follow-up response. And then when you finish with that, you can play with it in test mode, and then there are the steps for you to publish them. It's not that many steps. You have to, in a nutshell, I might be forgetting some of the steps, but you have to say what your app is about, what your app or action, we call it action for Google Assistant, what your action is about, the description. You have to add images. You have to say in which countries it's acceptable, for which audience, if it's suitable for children, for instance. Then you have to add a privacy policy, and then there's an optional step for you to add reviewing steps for the team. But I believe that for this one, the Google Spreadsheets one, it's pretty much out of the box, so that one is pretty much optional. Possibly I'm forgetting something, the privacy policy, and then you send it for review. Let me see if someone is saying anything. It's okay. No worries about your English. If you have any professional questions, just ask me. Okay, how can I mute and unmute the Google Home mic from the code? How to disable Hey Google? So you want from the code.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that, but I'm trying to learn.
Right. So as a user, if you have the Google Assistant in your house, I believe depending on the model, you can click a button that you mute your Google Assistant, or you can simply unplug it from the outlet, from the power. Now, is there a way for you to mute and unmute from the code? I don't know what you mean by that. So once you created your action, people are going to interact with it. So I don't see a use case of why a user, while they are interacting with your action, they would try to mute or unmute. Maybe they could just stop the conversation and get back at some other point. Now, if that functionality does exist, I'm not sure. If anyone who's listening here knows the answer to that one, let me know. Hello, Vlasta. I don't understand your question. I don't think that's a language I can speak. Going on. How can I pull real-time data from a Firebase database. For instance, if the user asks the price of a product, it returns the price that was pulled. So if you're going to use Firebase, there are two at this point in time. There are two databases that you can use. One of them is the real-time database. The other one is the Firestore, forgot the name, it's the Firestore one. So basically the way that it works is there is a place where you're going to write the back end of your code. It could be if you are on the if you're using Dialogflow. If you go to the tab that says fulfillment, you could use the inline editor. And then from there, you can access everything that you did in your Firebase. Let's say if you're using the real-time database. I don't know if you already know how to use this or not, but if you don't know, you go to console.firebase.google.com. Then on the left menu, you look for the real-time database, and then you can add your, let's say, your JSON there that contains your database. And then from your Firebase inline editor from Dialogflow, you can write the queries that are going to get the information which is there. And then from the intents tab on your Dialogflow console, you can say that you would like the responses to come from the webhook, which is fetching the information from Firebase. But this question was very focused into Firebase. But if your database lives in any other cloud provider, you can also use it. Again, from the fulfillment tab, you can, instead of using the Firebase inline editor, which is the one on the bottom, you can choose the first one. I don't have it open at the moment, but it's the first one. And then you can simply add the endpoint there and deal with how you're going to fetch the information from your endpoint, which is not going to be the inline one. You actually have to have access to a place where you can, if you're using Firebase locally, for instance, where you can deploy your functions. Or I can speak more about Firebase because it's the one I use, but mainly in a way that you're adding your code to a place. I hope it's a acceptable answer. Let me know if you'd like something more in depth about Firebase or some other place you're using it. Sorry, do you play any sports or dance? This is not about my personal life. This is about how I can help you in a professional way. So I'm not going to answer this type of questions. I'd love to hear more about Telephone Gateway. Is it fully up and running? Yes, it is fully up and running. However, you can only get phone numbers from the US at the moment. What else can I tell you about Telephone Gateway? I have personally, let me quickly search for it here, github.com/. I have created a piece of code in Node using Telephone Gateway. I'm going to paste it here right now. I use Node and Telephone Gateway, actions on Google, Dialogflow, women in tech demo. I believe it's the one. Yeah, this one. So if you'd like to get started, you can. I added all of the running steps. Let me just quickly write here. Dialogflow plus Telephone Gateway. So I'll quickly tell you how I built this action. Basically, I wanted to use the sentiment analysis, which is present, also Dialogflow with Telephone Gateway, and what else did I use? I think that's mainly that. So for me to use this action, I could get a free phone from the US. So I clicked in the integrations, I connected Dialogflow, I chose one of the free telephone numbers. They give you a choice of 3. I chose one of them. And then in the actions, you can choose how the person is going to interact with it. If it's going to be from text, from voice, if it's going to be from, I don't know, Telegram, Google Assistant, or if it's going to be via a call. So I set the intents very similar to the way that you possibly already are building with Actions on Google and Dialogflow. And then there is also one of the tabs that you can answer how you would like the answer to be if the person was calling from a phone number. Or you can also do it from code, which is what I shared here, the way that I built it. And then basically the way I did it is I bought a Skype phone number so that I could call this phone number that was given for this conversational action. And then when I built this for a demo, so on the day of the demo, I called it from my Skype number. But if I don't know where you're based, asking me the questions, but at the moment we don't have phone numbers anywhere in the world, so only for US phone numbers. I don't know if you have any more specific questions about telephone gateway that I can help you with, but yeah, it's fully working. You can create a chatbot and people can reach out to it from a real phone number. It works. How do I stop my little sister to install games on Play Store? Any option for restriction or something? I am particularly not using Play Store. That's not my area of expertise, but I'm sure that you can add some passwords to your phone. Maybe you can add more ways of protecting it, maybe fingerprint or a password that she doesn't know. I don't know the specifics about your little sister, but I don't think I'm the best person to help you with that. If you have any questions about creating conversational apps, women in technology, living in another country, I can possibly help you with that. Next question. Can we change Hey Google command to a custom one? For instance, Hey Amanda.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that yet, but my team is helping me learn.
I'm going to say just OKG for now. Sorry, I forgot I have a Google Home in the room. Okay, so you cannot change the invocation word from your Google Assistant, but there is something that you can do. For instance, on your phone, you can create something called a shortcut, and then you can call different actions by using that shortcut. But as far as I know, it's only on your phone. There was an article that I read, I think 3 years ago, by Ido Green, I think. Let me see if I can find this shortcut. And then you can change how you invoke it. I think I found here. There is a video on Twitter. Okay, I'm going to share this right now. Sorry to make your Google Home respond to my question. Right, so you can create shortcuts, but from the assistant, you cannot change the invocation word as per now. Is it required to be certified to become a GDE? I don't know to which technology you're talking about. The certification that came to my mind right now is the cloud certification. No, you don't have to be cloud certified to be a recognized expert. What you have to do is to prove that you care about community, because you're creating content, you're speaking in conferences, you're, I don't know, creating YouTube videos, but then it goes in, like, let's funnel it to content. You don't have to show that any type of certification, as far as I'm aware. I didn't have to show any type of certification. But if you'd like for any reason to be certified, the more the merrier, I guess, but it's not something that you have to have. Any advice on speaking at conferences? I'd like to apply, but kind of scared. There are ways of getting started at conferences. You don't need to start in the biggest one with 500 people in the room. You can start by, first of all, rehearsing in front of the mirror, and then in front of your family and friends. And then you can reach out to, there are some lovely meetups out there that they accept people to give lightning talks of only 5 minutes, for instance. And for instance, the meetup that I host, GDG Cloud, here in London, I welcome people to just come and talk about some projects they work on. And then you can be in a place that you know people are not going to judge you. And just because you're in the community, and most of the communities, I think, the tech communities, they have a code of conduct. So in case anything, let's say, goes wrong, someone gives you a mean feedback, non-constructive one, you can also reach out to them and tell them that you didn't really like it. But there are many communities that you can reach out to. For instance, the one that came to my mind, CodeBar, GDG Cloud. Yeah, if you're here and you know of more communities that can help you out, Women Tech Makers, there's definitely room to get started. And then you can do whatever makes you feel more comfortable in your first talk. If you'd like to print out the PowerPoint notes and have notes with you, if you would like to have someone in front of you to say, can you have a timer in front of me to help me out? One thing that I always do is bring a bottle of water, because I'm very, very anxious. So it doesn't matter that I already gave more than 50 talks, I still get anxious every time. So bottle of water, always there to help. I guess that's the best tip I can give. Is there the possibility for the Ask Amanda Anything to include a simple project walkthrough in the next sessions? Oh, it would be my pleasure. If we have time, I can even do it today on how I built the telephone gateway one. Can we use same document for questions and populate it after sessions and with links and suggestions? Yeah, sure. Of course. Feel free. I was thinking of maybe posting them also somewhere else with the answers to make it easier for you, maybe in a Medium post or something. But yeah, feel free to use this document. It's always going to be this one. So you don't have to, I don't know, have new links every time. These were all of the questions that you sent me. People listening right now, do you have any more new questions? I don't know if you're writing, because nothing is really popping up to me here. The last person who talked was Goraminov. I don't think anyone is typing anything, right? Just let me know if you write in the document. Let me post again the document, then I can be sure that I'm reading, because I have this open. So someone asked document with questions. Let me try to walk you through what I've worked on Telephone Gateway. I'll quickly open this here, share my screen. Okay, can you see it? I believe you can. I've find it odd that no one is saying anything. So I believe that it's just not updating. If you want to make sure that I'm reading what you're asking, write in the document, please. Right, so it's been a while I don't work in this project. Let me see when my last commit was. Oh, in January. Okay, so maybe there must be some new things. So this was a project that I worked alongside Joneskeet. It's called Dialogflow, Women Mentor Search and Escalation to a Human. So as you can see here, we used Firebase Firestore Cloud Functions for our database. We use Dialogflow. We use Google Cloud Natural Language API to make use of sentiment analysis. And if you'd like to see this same piece of code but in C#, you can also find the link here that Joneskeet worked on it. No, I don't want to ask anything else. Okay, just a heads up that this is not a fully working application. This was used for scope of a demo, so there's lots to be improved to it. And then I give you all the running steps on how I got this to work. You sign up if you're not on Dialogflow yet, or log in if you already have an existing account. Then in your console, you click to create an agent. An agent is the same thing as a bot, your application, your action. Then if you'd like to follow step by step what I did, you can call it Mentor Search Game. Remember that you cannot write with spaces. Then you select Create. You click Create. It's going to take a little time to start because in the background it's creating a Google Cloud Platform project with access to actions on Google Firebase and Google Cloud Platform services. Then, because I already created this action, you're going to, in your Dialogflow console, you click to export, and then you click import and restore from a zip from this file here that you can see. I have this zip here, the zip file. And then you can clone everything that I've done in this repository. Then in your computer, or if you're using a virtual machine, whatever you're writing from your terminal, you download and install Node, then you install Firebase, and within the repo, you write the command npm install to install all the Node package management. I think that's what it stands for. All the dependencies, the npm dependencies. The technology stack used is Node, Dialogflow, Firebase, Firestore, Google Cloud Platform, and just a bit of credit. All the women, there's also men in the list actually, but all the folks that I got the information from was from Lady Leet's Vampire List, which is an amazing list that if you're looking for mentors, women mentors, organizers, and speakers for your conference, it's out there, it's free. Last time I checked, there were 300 women, but I'm sure there's a lot more. There is also a demo here that you can play with it. So if I were to go to my Dialogflow console, I'm trying not to open it during the demo because I don't want to show any type of keys like I did last time. But let me see if I can just show a bit of code here. So we're making use of Firebase functions and the Dialogflow fulfillment, and then I make use of Firestore, and I have my database. I have a phone number that possibly it's not this one anymore because I haven't used this ever since January, and in the free tier the phone number doesn't last for a long time. You have to renew it. And if you'd like, let's say, to keep the phone number for longer, you can also purchase it in the Dialogflow Enterprise tier, let's say. Then there are two ways that you can write your your intents. You can either write a function here, or you can go to Dialogflow UI and write it there. And at times you can even have it written here, but you don't select that you want the answer to come from here. And then I also had the fallback in case the response doesn't match any of the questions asked. You can have a fallback one. And then I also had one to transfer a call for a real person, because in this demo, in case someone said something negative, let's say they're looking for an instructor, for a mentor. So in case they say something, I think I'm not a very good developer, I'm sad. So in case they say something which the sentiment is negative, we transfer it to a real person. But again, it's just a demo. In the demo, there wasn't a real person. There was John on the other side who would take my call. And then I also created the goodbye intent when the person hangs up, and the get mentor search result. So people could search this mentor by name, topic, or city. And then I got these piece of information from Dialogflow parameters, what the users were saying, and then I would search for it inside of Firestore. This is a bit of how the syntax looks like. And then in the end, let me see if I have here the response. Yeah, I did mine with full JSONs. So usually you don't have to write with response.json. There are some helpers that can help you out with that. For instance, agent.add, conv.ask, and things like that. This one I wrote in full because there was a problem in production at the time with Telephone Gateway, which kind of forced me to use everything in full in my code. This isn't the best code that I'm proud of. And then in the end, all of these functions that you created, they are mapped here. So this is the name that I actually named the intent on the UI. And then here I have the name of the function. If I search for welcome here, you'd see that I named this welcome here. So in the end, all of them are mapped. So this is a bit of a walkthrough on how I created an action with a Dialogflow. Let me put back my video now. Again, if you'd like to hear more or less about what I'm saying, just let me know. If it's too high level or too in depth, want to make sure your questions are responded. Hi Amanda, do you recommend using Firestore with Firebase? On some of my tests, I got timeout. Yes, I definitely recommend using Firestore. It's really up to date. It's a great piece of technology. Why you got timeout? So probably you're trying to look for something in your database that doesn't exist. Can you explain a bit on why you're timing out? There are also workarounds that you can do in case you don't have the answer at that moment. You can do something like, in case it takes more than X seconds, reply with a let's say a prompt question or something like that. You can play a little bit with timeout. I don't know how much the timeout is of now. I think last time I checked it was 10 seconds. But definitely don't let people not interact with your application the best way possible because of timeout. And there is Firestore and there is the real-time database. There are two types of databases that you can use with Firebase. So if you didn't like the experience much with one, you can try the other. But in the end, the two of them are Firebase. Yeah, thank you for also adding the question here to the document. I personally, when I have to create a quick project, I prefer to use the real-time database because the UI is so out of the box. All I have to do is I have my JSON. All I have to do is click a button and import it. With Firestore, to be honest, I'm not very I don't have much of knowledge with that. So I have my friend who is a Jason Berryman. He's a GDE for Firestore, so he usually helps me out to add all my information to actually put my JSON into there, which is something it's on my plans to get a bit better at Firestore. But I personally just use the real-time database. It could potentially be something on your side, but you know how the web services work. If you're expecting an answer and it's taking a lot of time, and then you ask another question, the next one is going to take even longer, and then can be at times that you're waiting for such a long time. So you always have to find a way to send a response back, even if you couldn't find the information that you're looking for. It's something really invaluable when you're creating these types of conversation to always have something to give back to the user, even if is sorry, can you ask me in a different way, or at the moment I cannot help you out, but try and give an answer. What I personally do is, when I'm on test mode and my response is coming from a webhook, in the place where you write the responses, the one, let's say the dummy responses, I always write webhook error. And then when I actually publish it, I say something like, sorry, there was a problem with this. Could you ask me the question again? So you can really make use of that response bit of the UI in addition to your webhook information. I'm going to read in Portuguese now. As I said, people are free and welcome to asking different questions in different languages. Eu tenho projeto de criar vários chatbots com o mesmo back-end, apenas mudando o contexto de cidade para cidade. Você recomenda algum tipo de arquitetura? Projeto de criar vários com o mesmo back-end, apenas mudando o contexto. Então, tá, você tem apenas um projeto, ele é um chatbot, que, digamos, vamos supor assim, se fosse uma loja que funciona em várias cidades, e você apenas tem o contexto. Então, se a pessoa fala assim, eu estou em Belo Horizonte, você vai todos do contexto ali partindo de Belo Horizonte. E você não queria utilizar o Dialogflow para isso, você gostaria de ver se tem alguma forma no seu próprio back-end que você poderia lidar com isso? É essa a pergunta? Eu, particularmente, eu fiz um chatbot parecido, mas ele não era tão grande, tão escalável quanto o seu. Mas eu chamaria ele de chatbot mesmo, porque ele era bem burro. Eu fazia com que a pessoa fosse forçada a sempre ir em apenas um contexto. Ela não tinha muito como voltar para o começo, né? Então, eu criei realmente uma árvore de decisão na qual a pessoa só podia ir para um sentido e, às vezes, somente voltar de um lado. Quando você diz algum tipo de arquitetura, o que você quer dizer com isso? Não estou usando Dialogflow, mas não sei como fazer para não mostrar informação do Rio em São Paulo. Não, vírgula, estou usando Dialogflow. Então, eu acho que eu posso até pesquisar mais para você sobre isso, porque não é alguma coisa que eu tenho experiência no momento, mas respondendo assim por alto, sem pesquisar, a forma de você controlar como a conversa vai ir é realmente o contexto. E lembrando que você pode ter mais de um tipo de contexto e você pode controlar a quantidade de perguntas após você entrar naquele contexto, que a pessoa vai estar sempre nele. Então, eu acharia uma forma de se a pessoa falou, vamos dizer assim, São Paulo, nunca sair do contexto São Paulo, até a pessoa falar o adeus, até logo, continuar sempre no contexto de São Paulo, para você manter esse controle do contexto. E aí você pode ter um contexto assim, São Paulo, temperatura, São Paulo, eu não sei sobre o que é sua longe, né? Eu tô falando, não sou pouca de temperatura. São Paulo, coisas para fazer, São Paulo, não sei o que, mas sempre manter, tentar fazer com que o lifespan, o tempo de vida desse contexto se mantenha por todo o tempo. Vamos ver se eu consigo te ajudar com isso aí que você está falando. Talvez a gente pode conversar depois. Eu não tô com muito tempo para ajudar individualmente, mas posso tentar. Mas o segredo está no contexto. Dá uma lida boa em context. Eu escrevi alguns textos em português que podem te ajudar também a entender como funciona o contexto. Vou dividir com você aqui depois o link. E bacana demais. Bom saber que você está usando o Dialogflow aí para criar coisa em grande escala. Muito interessante. Deve ser um uso de caso bacana depois para mostrar em conferências. Dennis, hi, Amanda. What have you enjoyed the most about Women Tech Maker Summit? So this was my fourth summit, and the previous one I went as a speaker, and I think I didn't get the most of the summit because I was always worrying about my own talk, and this year I felt that I could really relax and talk to people from different parts of the world. All the sessions were very invaluable. I brought my computer and I didn't even open it at any time. I was so engaged in all the conversations we had, all the sessions that we had. So I can't pick my favorite part, but I think that the conjunction of the entire summit was beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it too. I saw your presentation. Any more questions? Maybe I could talk a little bit more about context. Ricardo, do you understand English? Okay. So basically, if we're using Dialogflow, we can call it like a big decision tree. If you're not controlling the course of the conversation on how it's going to go, it can understand anything at any time, because many questions and answers they can do with many different things, and then your conversational app just doesn't know where to go. So the best way to control the flow of your conversation is using context. And remember, you can use more than one, and you can say, for instance, what's the weather like in London today? What can I do tomorrow there? And then you can keep the context of location, or then I can say, what's the weather like today and tomorrow? And then I can keep the context of the weather. So there are different ways that you can keep the conversation going without having to say the same word, like, what's the weather in London tomorrow? What's the weather in London today? So we don't talk like this in real life. We don't keep on saying the same things over and over. So for you to make use of things like it or that and really control the state of the conversation where you are, context is what you have to master. Yeah, thank you for answering. I look forward to seeing you at the Firebase Summit as well. Is there anything else I can help anyone? We still have 15 minutes, and I really want to help most people I can. Let me see. Let me go back if people asked more questions. Nope. I think that people that are here today were not here last week when I showed some things that I really love. It's one of my favorite things. There are, I'm a big fan of cardboard boxes. This one is the Android Things kit. Mainly, I can use the Google Assistant in here. I can connect it to my to an application that I have on my phone, and then there is an antenna here, and we have a Raspberry Pi. There's this other one, which is the Voice Kit. It works as just like the Google Home, but also this one comes with a Raspberry Pi. Older ones didn't used to come with a Raspberry Pi. So you can create a little box like this, so you actually have the hands-on moment with the, let's say, play with the hardware and then with the software. This one you can also, they come, you can burn, how do you call it? You can burn the image onto a small card. How do you call it? Micro SD. And then you put in the Raspberry Pi. Then you can, from the computer, which is connected to there, you can connect to your GCP account, your Google Cloud Platform account, or to your, also to your actions on Google Console and Dialogflow Console. And then the actions that you create, the sound can also come from there, and also actions created by other people. This one is my favorite. It's the Vision Kit. I have a video that I created how to assemble this step by step. It also comes with a Raspberry Pi. This one always came with a Raspberry Pi. Last year, we could only find it in the US, but now they also sell it here in the UK. I'm not sure about other countries at the moment, but this one comes with a camera. So you can use, they call it an intelligent camera that can see and recognize objects and detect facial emotions. And then, so mainly it uses TensorFlow. So I really love to play with hardware and the Google Assistant as well. The Google Assistant, your applications, your actions can work in a number of different devices, on wearables, on your phone, in these cardboard boxes with a Raspberry Pi. There are so many ways that you can have people access the content that you're creating. What's the name of the one with the display again? So this one is the Android Things Kit. It's quite interesting. I actually created a video speaking in Brazilian Portuguese with this one that I never published it. Maybe I should publish it. It's very, very interesting. Other 13 minutes to go. Is there anything else I can help you with? Let me see if anyone's talking to me on any other type of social media. Cool, right? Yeah, so mainly your application can work in a number of different places. To me, my favorite one was when I used my phone and I called my conversational app and it replied to me on my phone. And then the moment that I transferred it to a real person, at this moment it exits the conversational app, the conversational action, and it goes to the other call. So when the second call actually finishes, you don't go back to the conversational action. It finishes there because the call is transferred. So it's endless customer service. There are real business who are using it, as I said, mainly in the US. But there also, one of the reasons that I got started with Dialogflow back then, being API AI, is because how easy it is to integrate with channels such as Telegram or Facebook Messenger, because I didn't want to have to deal with that in my backend. It felt like reinventing the wheel, and everything is there out of the box. All you have to do is get the token and some specifics of each channel that you use. You would have to do it any way you're building it. And that's it. So I love how many integrations you have, and how the examples that I gave, I use Node.js, but there are other SDKs that you can use, other programming languages, for instance, Java, Python. So it's a very good time to get started, no matter what your background is. I'd say that most of the documentation is still in Node.js. So if you're, let's say, a JavaScript developer, it's still easier, but it's not impossible to do the others. And of course, there are many Googlers and GDEs and people who are being kind enough to share their knowledge on the internet and at conferences, at meetups. So, and also Stack Overflow, you can use the tags, Actions on Google, Dialogflow. There are many, many people using it. So the questions are being answered. Especially Alan. Alan, he's answered I don't know how many questions. The man is a legend. Anything else I can help you with today? No worries. Glad I could be of help. No, it's okay. It's all recorded. If you'd like to get started with the Google Assistant, I definitely recommend that you look for Actions on Google Code Lab. If you look for that on Google, or if you go to the Code Labs, Google Code Labs, and look for Assistant, there are 3 levels of a free Code Lab or workshop that you can follow in a very interactive way, step by step, guiding you how to do it. And then you can have an understanding of the fundamentals of a conversational app, conversational action, which are intents, entities, fulfillment, and then there is, let's say, the very first one that you get the fundamentals. Then there is the number 2 that you go more in depth on how to use an endpoint and interact with your endpoint. And then the third one, there are amazing things, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not mistaken, that you can see how you can save the information. If it makes sense that you ask the user for some information which comes from their Google account. For instance, you would like to save the name of the person to reuse it throughout the conversation, to speak to them in a more, let's say, personal way. So you can ask at any point of the conversation, do you give me permission to know your name? Or let's say that you're selling something, and then you could use the transaction API to use the type of payment that the user has in their own Google account. So of course, this is all made in a safe way. You're not going to have the information of the credit card or the card of the user, but there are ways that you can use this type of APIs inside of your application. And this one, I believe, in the Code Lab number 3. If it's not this example that I'm saying exactly, but you can see how to ask for permissions and how you can make it way more intelligent. I definitely recommend, even if you already consider yourself a very good developer or someone who is working on the project, it's interesting to understand how things work. So yeah, let me post a link of the Code Lab. Code Lab Level 1. I have, actually, it's the Brazilian Portuguese speakers here. I have created this Code Lab, not created, sorry, I have translated the Code Lab in a way that I read what it's being said in English, and then I explain with my own words in Portuguese, so you can follow it step by step. This piece of technology is being really used. Last year, there were more than 600,000 developers. I don't know what are the stats for this year, but it's growing more and more because the natural language understanding tool Dialogflow is just beautiful, especially because, you know, Google bought it. They bought it. It used to be ABI AI, and now it's Dialogflow. So many of the capabilities that you have when you're using a Google product, let's say when you're Google searching and you type something slightly wrong, there is a typo, Google still understands and suggests something, right? So some of these examples, they also exist inside of Dialogflow. So even if the person doesn't say the exact word, it can still understand some typos. And you can also train some typos. Some people might say it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying that it's something which is possible for you to do. So if you know that a person always writes a word wrong, let's say instead of writing dual, they write duel, you could potentially add that. Even though it's wrong, you can also train your machine learning model to understand these words as well. So there are cases which is good to train the wrong word. Happy to hear if you disagree with that, but there are also ways that can be helpful depending on the use case. So I'm going to do the session weekly. There are many people who are reaching out to me individually, but to be honest, I'm in a moment of my life that I have a goal. I'm writing a JavaScript course, and my deadline is for September. So all my free time, people already have the things they have to do in their lives, and all that free time that I have after I clean my house, I eat my dinner, I do the things that, let's say, I have to do, I'm fully working on the translation of my course, and on the creation of my course, which I'm very excited to share when it's finished. So I'm sorry if I can't take many questions individually and you're feeling ignored, but I'll try as much as I can to come in the next week to the session to the questions that you answered me in case I couldn't answer them at the moment you asked me here right now. And there are many other GDEs that you can also reach out to them. I'll try to add some of them to the document as well. So you can follow them on their social medias and see if they're going to give a talk next to you, or if they gave a talk and it's recorded. So I'm not the only Google developer expert in the world. There are many, and if you're looking forward to become one, I've posted some links here on how you can get started. So it'd be a pleasure to also have you on board in this program created by Google. We got Dev Fest for our Dev Fest all the time, but sadly, no training for the name. Sounds dangerous to go to a Dev Fest. Yeah, I could also talk in the remaining minutes about Dev Fest. No matter which city or country you're listening to me giving this talk right now, look if there is a coming Dev Fest around you. It's mainly a conference, a big one. It can be one day. There are people, for instance, I was talking to these folks in Italy, they do a 1 week Dev Fest, but usually it's 1 or 2 days that you have different tracks. You can have Cloud Track, Web Track, Android, Actions on Google, and some other Google technologies. And then you have speakers that can be developer advocates from Google, people, Google developer experts, people who, anyway, there are different types of people who come and share their expertise. And then there's a lot of swag, there's a chance of networking. I don't know why people reading here, why do you go to DevFest? You can also share your point of view. So yeah, it's usually a great way to network and to learn about the technologies, the latest technologies. I personally love to go to DevFest and also to conferences, for instance, Google I/O or Google Next, to talk to people who are using these types of technologies and say, this is working for me, does it work for you? Can you? And then I just share knowledge. Right, so I think that's it for today. All the questions that I got here, I answered, I believe. Do write down in the comment if I didn't reply to your question the best way possible, so I can, if I myself cannot answer you the best way possible, I can ask another expert. I also saw that you're very interested in Firebase. I can also add the contact of some Google Developer experts for Firebase so that you can ask your questions more in depth, because my expertise is actions on Google. And Firebase, to me, many times I go to my friends, my Google Developer expert friends, and ask questions. At the moment, I'd say I learned quite a bit, but that's definitely not what I'm an expert at. So yeah, have a good night or day. I don't know where you're listening to me from. And I encourage you to do something similar. If you have anything you can share with a person, take some time in your life and just give back to the community. Thank you very much and see you soon.